The garden at the Sterling Grand Hotel was beautiful, I'll give them that. Japanese maples swayed in the evening breeze while fairy lights twinkled overhead. But it wasn't where the real celebration of my father's 55th birthday was happening. That was inside in the opulent main ballroom, where my stepbrother Derek held court with the corporate elite of Sterling Industries. Enjoying the fresh air, Alexandra? Derek's condescending voice carried across the garden. We thought you'd be more comfortable out here, away from all that complicated business talk. I smoothed down my simple black dress, Chanel's latest, though they'd never recognize it, and took another sip of champagne. If they only knew that while they were preening inside, I'd just closed a deal that would reshape the entire industry. The garden is lovely, I replied quietly, watching him swagger back inside to rejoin the party. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows I could see my father, Robert Sterling, surrounded by sycophants and yes-men. My stepmother Clarissa dripped in diamonds, while Derek dominated the conversation with exaggerated tales of his latest achievements as Sterling Industries VP of Operations. 5 years ago when I left Sterling Industries to start my own consulting firm, they'd all laughed. Playing businesswoman, Derek had called it. Even my father, who'd once been my biggest champion, had shaken his head in disappointment. Now they relegated me to the garden during family functions, away from the serious business discussions. My phone buzzed discreetly, another message from the board. They were eager to finalize tomorrow's announcement, but I'd insisted on waiting until after tonight's party. Some revelations are best served with perfect timing. Mind if I join you? A gentle voice interrupted my thoughts. My 12-year-old stepsister Emma stood holding a plate of appetizers. Unlike her brother Derek, she had never treated me with disdain. Of course not, I smiled, making room on the garden bench. Getting too stuffy in there? She nodded, picking at her food. Derek's telling everyone about how he saved the Singapore merger. But I heard Dad on the phone yesterday. It's actually falling apart. Smart girl. The Singapore merger was indeed collapsing, though not for the reasons they suspected. My consulting firm had quietly advised the Singapore company to hold off. After tomorrow they'd be negotiating with very different leadership. Alexandra. My stepmother's shrill voice cut through the evening air. At least make yourself useful and help the catering staff. Since you insist on staying in the garden, you might as well work with the other service people. I caught the catering manager's eye and winked. He was actually one of my closest advisors, playing a role tonight just as I was. His catering company was a subsidiary of my consulting firm, giving us perfect cover to monitor the party. Of course, Clarissa, I called back, standing up to gather some empty glasses. My father appeared behind her, looking uncomfortable but saying nothing. He'd stopped defending me years ago, when I refused to follow his planned path for my career. Inside, Derek was holding forth about Sterling Industries' future. Once the Singapore merger goes through, we'll be the largest industrial consulting firm in Asia. Dad's legacy will be secured and under my leadership. I checked my watch. 20 minutes until George Richardson, CEO of Sterling Industries' parent company, would arrive. Derek thought he was coming to announce his promotion to Chief Operating Officer. The board had encouraged that assumption on my instructions. My phone buzzed again, this time with a stock alert. Sterling Industries shares were up 3% on rumors of a leadership change. By tomorrow that number would be much higher, though not for the reasons Derek suspected. Through the garden windows I watched my family bask in their imagined triumph. They had no idea that for the past 5 years my little consulting firm had been quietly acquiring companies, building partnerships, and gaining the trust of Sterling Industries board members. While Derek played office politics, I'd been revolutionizing the industry from the shadows. Emma tugged at my sleeve. Alex, why does everyone treat you like this? You're smarter than Derek. Even his assistant says so. Because sometimes, sweetheart, the best way to build an empire is to let others think you're tending the garden. Sometimes people see what they want to see, I told her instead. My phone lit up with a message from George Richardson. 5 minutes out. Everything in place. I texted back a simple yes, then gathered a few more empty glasses, playing my role for the last time. In the ballroom, Derek was preparing to make what he thought would be his triumphant speech. If he only knew that while he was practicing his acceptance speech for Seo, I'd spent the morning in a secret board meeting, signing papers that would change everything. Sometimes the best view of an empire's fall is from the garden, watching through windows as the mighty prepare to stumble. Ladies and gentlemen, Derek's voice boomed through the hotel's speaker system. In a few minutes, we'll be joined by George Richardson, CEO of Global Ventures, our parent company. I think we're all in for quite an announcement. I gathered a few more glasses, playing the part of the helpful failure one last time. The catering manager, actually my chief of operations Michael Chen, gave me a subtle nod. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. Can you believe her? I overheard Clarissa's stage whisper to a group of corporate wives. Instead of networking, she's out there picking up trash. Thank God Derek inherited his father's business sense. If they only knew that while Derek was networking, I'd built a consulting empire that had quietly become Global Ventures' most valuable asset. My firm Phoenix Consulting had spent 5 years transforming struggling companies into industry leaders, all while letting Sterling Industries think I was barely staying afloat. Alex, Emma whispered, helping me with the glasses. Why is everyone so excited about Mr. Richardson coming? Because they think they know what he's going to say, I replied softly. But sometimes the best surprises come from the garden. My father took center stage next to Derek, his custom-made suit stretched tight across his shoulders. Before George arrives, I want to say how proud I am. Sterling Industries has never been stronger, and with Derek's leadership. My phone buzzed, a message from the board's chairwoman. Final vote unanimous. Congratulations, CEO Sterling. Through the windows, I watched Derek preen under our father's praise. He'd spent the past month picking out a new office on the executive floor, never questioning why the board kept delaying his official COO appointment. Sir, Michael whispered, maintaining his catering manager facade, Mr. Richardson's car just pulled up. I nodded, straightening my dress. Time to go inside. But they told you to stay in the garden, Emma said, confused. Sometimes, sweet girl, the garden is exactly where you need to be to grow something extraordinary. The ballroom hushed as George Richardson strode in, his commanding presence drawing all eyes. At 65, he'd built Global Ventures into a multinational powerhouse. What no one knew was that he'd also been my mentor for the past 5 years, quietly guiding my acquisition strategy. Robert, he boomed, embracing my father. Quite a party you've got here. And Derek, just the man I wanted to see. Derek stepped forward, straightening his tie. George, we're all excited about your announcement. Yes, yes, George smiled, his eyes finding mine at the back of the room. Though first, I believe someone's been relegated to the garden? Alexandra, please join us. The silence was immediate. Clarissa's face tightened, while Derek's confident smile faltered slightly. Oh, Alexandra's just helping the staff, my father said quickly. She's not really involved in. Not involved. George's eyebrows rose. That's not what the board tells me. In fact, they've been quite impressed with her work. Or should I say with Phoenix Consulting's work. Derek's smile disappeared completely. Phoenix Consulting? That tiny firm she started. Tiny. George laughed. Alexandra, why don't you tell them about Phoenix's latest acquisition? I stepped forward, feeling the weight of every eye in the room. Actually, there have been several acquisitions. Starting with Chin Logistics last year. Then Martinez Technologies. And as of this morning, Sterling Industries. The champagne glass in Derek's hand crashed to the floor. What? My father whispered. That's impossible. Sterling Industries isn't for sale. It was, George corrected, to the right buyer. The board voted this morning. Phoenix Consulting now owns a controlling interest in Sterling Industries. And Global Ventures has voted to merge all operations under Phoenix's leadership. The silence in the ballroom was deafening. Derek's face had turned an interesting shade of gray, while Clarissa gripped the nearest table for support, her perfectly manicured nails digging into the expensive linen. This is a joke, Derek finally managed. Alexandra can't, she doesn't. Doesn't what, Derek? I moved to stand beside George. Doesn't understand business? Let's review the numbers, shall we? I nodded to Michael, who dropped his catering manager act and pulled out a tablet. The ballroom's screens lit up with financial data. Phoenix Consulting's current market value, $4.2 billion, Michael announced. Our client portfolio includes 17 Fortune 500 companies, 3 of which were failing before we turned them around. And now, Sterling Industries. But the Singapore merger, Derek stammered. I've been negotiating. With one of my subsidiary companies, I finished for him. Chong Martinez Global wasn't interested in Sterling Industries. They were interested in Phoenix Consulting. The merger you've been bragging about. It was a smokescreen to keep you occupied while the real negotiations happened. My father stepped forward, his face ashen. Alexandra, why didn't you tell us? Tell you. I raised an eyebrow. Like you told me I was throwing my career away? Or like Derek told potential clients to avoid my amateur operation? George cleared his throat. The board has been watching Alexandra's work for years. While Sterling Industries focused on traditional consulting, Phoenix was revolutionizing the industry. Digital transformation, sustainable practices, employee-centered management, everything the modern market demands. Through the windows I could see Emma in the garden, grinning and giving me a thumbs up. At least one member of the family had always believed in me. As of 9 a.m. tomorrow, I continued, Phoenix Consulting will assume control of all Sterling Industries operations. And yes, Derek, that includes your office on the executive floor. Though you might want to cancel that custom desk you ordered, we're converting that floor into a collaborative workspace. Clarissa finally found her voice. But what about the Sterling legacy? The family name? Oh, I'm keeping the name, I smiled. After all, I am a Sterling. Just not the one you expected to succeed. The screens shifted to show Phoenix's organizational structure. My father's eyes widened as he saw familiar names, executives who'd left Sterling Industries over the years, all now holding senior positions at Phoenix. Sarah Chin, Mark Rodriguez, they all work for you. Along with half of Sterling's top talent from the past 5 years, I confirmed. Turns out when you treat people with respect and give them real opportunities, they prefer that to nepotism and office politics. Derek lunged forward. This is theft. I'll fight this in court. Like you fought the audit of your expense accounts? I asked quietly. The board already knows about the embezzlement, Derek. The private jets, the fake client meetings, the offshore accounts. I bought that evidence months ago. The color drained from his face completely. Behind him, our father looked like he'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. Don't worry, I continued. I'm not pressing charges. Consider it a birthday gift to Dad, keeping the family scandal private. But you might want to cancel your vacation plans for the next few quarters. There's going to be a lot of work bringing Sterling Industries up to Phoenix standards. George stepped forward again. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to officially introduce Alexandra Sterling, the new global CEO of Phoenix Sterling Global Consulting. Under her leadership, we expect the company's value to double within 18 months. Applause broke out, hesitant at first, then growing stronger as the reality set in. The corporate world loves a winner regardless of where they came from. But you were in the garden, Clarissa sputtered. Picking up glasses. Sometimes the best view of an empire is from the outside, I replied. While you were all focused on maintaining the appearance of success, I was actually building it. One client, one innovation, one transformed company at a time. Emma had come back inside and rushed to hug me. I knew it. I knew you were amazing. Thank you, sweetheart. I hugged her back. How about we get you an internship next summer? Show you how real business is done. My father finally stepped forward. Alexandra. I was wrong. Yes, you were, I said softly. But that's the thing about gardens, Dad. They're perfect places for growth. Even if some people see them as places for failure. The screens shifted again, showing Phoenix's global operations, offices in 30 countries, clients across every major industry, and innovation hubs developing the future of consulting. Tomorrow morning, I addressed the room, every Sterling Industries employee will receive a memo. Salaries are being adjusted for equity, our sustainability initiatives are expanding, and yes, the garden will become a collaborative workspace. Sometimes the best ideas grow in unexpected places. Derek made one last attempt. You can't just walk in and change everything. The clients won't stand for it. Actually, Michael interjected, most of your major clients signed with Phoenix months ago. They just couldn't announce it until today. I checked my watch. Speaking of announcements, the press release should be hitting now. Phoenix Consulting acquires Sterling Industries. A new era in global consulting. Your phones should be buzzing any moment. Right on cue, the room filled with notification sounds. The story was breaking across all major business news outlets. And now, I smiled, raising my champagne glass, I believe we were celebrating a birthday. To new beginnings, unexpected successes, and the power of growing something extraordinary, even when others tell you to stay in the garden. As the party reluctantly resumed, I caught George's eye. He winked and raised his glass in a subtle toast. We both knew this was just the beginning. Miss Sterling, Michael murmured, Tokyo office is online for the morning briefing. And the Singapore team needs your sign-off on the merger details. Tell them I'll be there in 5 minutes, I replied, then turned to Emma. Want to see how a global company really runs? Her eyes lit up. Can I? Of course. After all, someone needs to carry on the new Sterling legacy. And I have a feeling you've got what it takes to grow something extraordinary. As we walked toward the makeshift command center Michael had set up, I paused to look back at the garden where I'd spent so many events, watching and waiting and building in silence. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just success. It's succeeding in a way that transforms not just a company but an entire industry. And sometimes, the most powerful person in the room is the one they sent to the garden, never realizing they were giving her exactly what she needed. Space to grow. The future of consulting was about to change, and it had started in a hotel garden, planned by the woman they thought was just there to pick up glasses. Sometimes the best view of a revolution is from the outside, watching through windows as the old guard realizes the future arrived while they weren't looking. And as for the garden, I think I'll keep it. After all, every great empire needs a place where new ideas can take root and grow.